We're going to take a look at the base radio that will be used for dispatch and also for the maintenance operations. It's the same radio as you would find in the buses, with some differences to its programming and a little bit of difference to its setup. So here on the front we have the power key with volume, an emergency button, the mic connection port, our buttons across the bottom for menu, up, down, back, and our multifunction key. You also have the indicator light, we'll explain the function of that, and the microphone. Push to talk on the side, the orange button there. And if we turn it around and take a look at the back, there's only a couple of connections on this radio. We've got our power port and our antenna ports. Now you'll notice on the base radios we have an antenna attached directly to the radio on the LTE port. That is for the cellular connection. All the radios have a GPS connection, however we don't use that on the base radios because we're not tracking the base radios. So key things to check: is my power connected, is my antenna secure, and is it on the LTE port. So how do I turn it on? Well, that's quite simple. Push and hold the power key and the radio will turn on. Now these radios connect to a network and they are a computer in many respects. So it takes a few seconds for this, and you'll see it'll go through searching for the network. It'll then indicate logging in, and then finally will load to the main screen. Be patient. This process may take a few minutes. And there we have it. We are now logged in to our main menu. So looking at the main menu of the base radio here, across the top we have our performance indicators. You can see we have the signal strength and the network that is connected to, this indicating we are currently on a 4G network. We have our locator indicator. This tells us whether it's GPS tracking or not. If we currently had a GPS tracking fix, we would not see a dark dot in the middle, we would see a complete white. Over here, the little handset, that tells us we are connected to the network and able to make voice calls. And over here, well, it's a clock. It tells us what time it is. Going down, this first indicator shows us the group we are a member of at present. 2 people means a group, and currently we're connected to Abbotsford. This is our status indicator. It tells us exactly what is happening with the radio right now. And down here, this is a caller ID. So this is currently showing us our name, and we are the demo base. If someone else had been talking recently, we would see the name of the last person to talk. Across the bottom, we have our menu, our group selection, our user selection, back. The other thing you can do from the main menu here is adjust the volume. So if you turn the volume up and down, quite simply, you can see the volume adjusting. Save it. And it goes back to the main menu. So covering the simplicities of transmitting and receiving on the base radio. To transmit, simply pick up the microphone, key up the radio. It will indicate that you are talking and you are the base radio. The indicator over here will also show red. When you're done talking, release the PTT, the indicator goes off, and it no longer shows as talking. When someone talks to you, you will see listening and the name of the radio that is currently talking. The indicator will also go blue. When they finish, it will revert to last call, and it shows you who the last person to talk was, in this case handheld number 7. So how to change a group on the radio? It's pretty straightforward. We go to the button corresponding to group, which in this case is the up arrow. Press the button, and then we'll see the list of groups we are a member of. We could scroll up and down, select the group we want to be a member of, in this case Abbotsford Handy Dart, and press enter. And you'll see the group indicator has now changed from Abbotsford to Abbotsford Handy Dart. We're now a member of Abbotsford handy dart. There are several groups programmed into the base radios for Abbotsford, Chilliwack, the Abbotsford handy dart, the Chilliwack handy dart, and this one down here called all radios. This only appears on the base radios. All radios, if we select this group, we can now hear all communications on the system. It doesn't matter what group the radio is in, if they are talking, we will hear it. And if we talk on this, everybody will hear us. This is used for Saturday operations when the Chilliwack dispatch is closed. Instead of the drivers having to change channels, simply change to all radios on the bus and you can talk to everyone. Okay, so let's take a look at how we can monitor groups. To do that, we simply press Group, and here's our list that we just looked at for changing groups. In order to monitor a group, we can literally scroll down to, for example, Abbey Handy Dart, press the P1 button, and we'll see the icon change to a little headset. Now in this configuration, what would happen is I am actively in Abbotsford. If I talk on the microphone, I would be talking to Abbotsford. But if somebody else spoke on the Handy Dart channel, I would hear them talking. So if I'm in maintenance and I want to actively monitor the fleet, I can pick different parts of the fleet to listen to while talking to Abbotsford. And to get rid of that monitoring, I simply go back in there and do the exact same thing. Scroll down to the Handy Dart, press P1. We'll see the icon reverts back to a standard group, and I'm no longer monitoring that group. Back out, and we're back to our regular configuration. We're going to look at how to make a private call. We know that in the past, we would go to channel 2 for a private call, but the truth is, it wasn't really private and everybody who wanted to listen in could. On this system, private calls truly are private, and they are initiated by the base or dispatch software. In this case, we're simply going to go on our base radio and click Users. We'll now see a list of all of the users in this group. If they're blue, they're online. If they're grey, the radio is turned off. So we're going to use this handheld 7 as a demonstration. So I simply scroll to handheld 7, and when I key up my radio, you'll see over on here we now have demo base showing as talking, and on this radio it says my turn to talk. As soon as we release, it's now idle. This radio can then talk back. This is a fully private conversation between these two radios. After the conversation is done and we're ready to exit this mode, we literally click exit on the base radio, and you'll see the private call clears out on the subscriber radio as well as on the base radio. Now if we key up, we're back to talking in the group. Okay, taking a look at the main menu. To access it, we simply press the menu key. We have a series of icons, and we can see on the screen as we scroll up and down what these do. We just looked at how to choose a group and how to make a private call using the users list. There are some functions in here that are not used. On the base radios, we don't use the dispatch messages, we don't use the PTT records, and we don't use the contact list or call records. We do use audio settings. The key thing to check when you're in audio settings is that your sound quality is set to HQ. All radios must have the sound quality set to HQ. Save. We can back out of any menu just by pressing the back key, the reverse arrow key. Other settings that we might have to look at under advanced, we can change the network mode. We can also adjust the power on settings. So as described previously, your radio can either be turned on by tracking the ignition sense or using the power key. Now on a base radio, we're never going to hook up the ignition sense, but in a bus, we would. And finally, our settings menu. Here we can change various settings to do with the display, whether the backlight is on all the time or whether it goes off when the radio is not tracking. We can change the brightness, we can change the language, we can turn on and off whether the radio makes a beep every time we press a button. To back out, press back.